Welcome back to Rantpocalypse Talks HBO'S Westworld. I'm Justin, and for this video, we're going to take a look at debunking the theory that William is the Man in Black, and I'm going to give you evidence that points to Logan being the Man in Black. Evidence number 1, Logan is rich, powerful, and a little bit, a lot of bit full of himself. This sounds very similar to one person, namely being the Man in Black. We've seen a lot of his pompous pontifications to all of the hosts, as well as Ford himself, throughout season 1 of Westworld. We also got the Man in Black telling his backstory in episode 8, Trace Decay, telling Teddy that he's a god, a titan of industry. So that means that both of these characters, Logan and the Man in Black, are rich and powerful, as well as definitely full of themselves. Evidence number 2, Logan enjoys torturing the hosts. When we see Logan and William early on in season 1 of Westworld, they are sitting down to dinner and another host comes up to talk to William. This host is very nice. He's just trying to get William's attention. I believe he was just trying to sell William on something, but Logan was furious that this host would dare have the audacity to interrupt him while he was talking. So at the dinner table, he proceeds to slam a knife down the middle of this host's hand just to get him to go away from their dinner table. We see a very similar act with the Man in Black early on in season 1 when he's trying to get more information on the maze. He goes and kidnaps Kissy. I don't know if any of you guys remember this poor sap. All the Man in Black wanted was his scalp. Now I'll admit, the removal of my scalp is torture in of itself. But the Man in Black could have gone about it a completely different way. He could have just shot Kissy, scalped him, and got the maze off of his head very quickly and very easily. But instead, he takes Kissy on a torture ride and proceeds to torture him some more when he has him up in the mountains. This is something the Man in Black also does with Dolores and Teddy, as he tries to torture them whenever they're first introduced to the Man in Black. I definitely feel like this is something that these two characters have in common with one another that could lead you to believe that these two are indeed the same person. Evidence number 3 is Logan's constant comparisons of Westworld to a video game or a game in general. When we see William and Logan together early on in season 1, he's constantly looking for the deeper and harder levels of the game. He enjoys the no-rules nature of Westworld. He loves losing himself in the park where he can act as himself, his true self, unlike in the real world where he has to go through the motions. This is something that we see the Man in Black do as well, as he's trying to play out Arnold's game and find the center of the maze, and he typically compares the world of Westworld to a game, trying to get to the deeper levels. This is something the Man in Black and Logan again have in common that points to evidence that Logan is indeed the Man in Black. Evidence number 4 is kind of an odd one to point to, but I thought that this is also something they had in common, and that is the fact that Logan likes to hurt Dolores. We see him hitting Dolores, we see him tell William that he will just go ahead and off Dolores multiple times, so he likes to play with Dolores' emotions, her feelings, but it's strange because he also has an odd affection for her. I kind of compare it to whenever a guy likes a girl, but the girl likes that guy's friend, so in turn, that guy hates his friend, tries to sabotage the friend, but still at the same time wants to be with that girl that's never going to love the guy because she's in love with the friend, and the guy's trying to sabotage the friend that she's in love with. I feel like this is the way Logan acts towards Dolores, and I think that the Man in Black has a very similar relationship with Dolores, and not only Dolores, but with Teddy as well. We've seen the Man in Black punish Dolores, we've seen the Man in Black punish Teddy, but he also seems to have an odd affection for the two of them. And the reason why I believe that he has an odd affection for both of them is because the Man in Black is Logan, and he had a relationship with Dolores in the past whenever Dolores and William were on their mission to find Arnold. So he knew about Dolores then. And the reason why I bring up Teddy is because I believe that Teddy is based on William's mind. I feel like there has been a transference of consciousness with William's mind into Teddy's. And that's why we see so many similar things happening with Teddy and William. The way that they enter into Sweetwater, the way that the can rolls out, they both pick it up in a very similar manner and they give it to Dolores. And Logan knows this. Thus, the Man in Black, if he's indeed Logan, would also know this information as well. Evidence number 5 is saving the park. The Man in Black says he saved the park from Arnold's plan to destroy it. I believe that Logan may save the park in the next couple of episodes by taking out Dolores just as she's becoming more sentient, which Arnold ultimately wants her to do so she can take down the park. Logan is definitely arrogant, and I think he's just arrogant enough to claim that he saved the park with this act of killing Dolores before she could gain full sentience, yeah, whatever, before she could gain basically human-like qualities to take over the park of Westworld. Evidence number 6, I believe, is the most damning piece of evidence that Logan is the Man in Black and not William, and this is because the Man in Black says that he opened up one of the hosts in the early days of the park, saying that it was beautiful, not the sad, real mess of flesh and bone that they are today. As far as we know from what they've shown us thus far in Season 1, that William's first visit to the park was with Logan. They come to the park for William's bachelor party. But we also know that Logan had been coming to the park quite a few times before this. He knew where to go, what was going to be the most fun, and knew about parts of the park that a lot of the guests didn't make it to. In my Westworld timeline, we have the distant past, which is when Arnold and Ford had created the park together. The hosts were more robotic, similar to what we see whenever we have the Ford flashback, and one of the hosts definitely looks more robotic, and I believe that this is 35 years ago. We see this in episode 8 with Dolores coming into that town, where she sees Armistice, she sees Maeve, and she sees the character of Angela, played by Tallulah Riley, and one of the Westworld techs is monitoring their dance moves and seeing how robotic they look, because they definitely look robotic. And then we have the distant past, which is where I believe William, Dolores, and Logan are in currently. And during this time frame, we know the incident occurs because we know the incident occurred 30 years ago. And then we have in the present where the Man in Black is on the hunt for the maze. Ford is creating his new storyline. And Dolores, I believe, is on a solo mission for getting to the center of the maze. So when we see William's first visit to the park, the hosts look extremely more lifelike. Whenever he is introduced to Angela, he can't even tell the difference of whether or not she's a human or a host. She says, if you can't tell the difference, does it really matter? So with the Man in Black saying that he opened one of the hosts up, he would have had to have been there before this time frame, before William first comes to the park, which then in turn means that if Logan was there previously to William, maybe he was actually able to open up one of the hosts in one of his previous visits, thus making Logan the Man in Black, the Man in Black being Logan. So what would Logan's motivation for becoming the Man in Black and coming to the park constantly and trying to find the center of the maze? Well, earlier I said something about Teddy being the transference of William's mind and consciousness. My theory is that Logan has ties into the park and he has lots of money. What if the incident that occurs 30 years in the past was Logan killing William, but using his influence, his money, and the fact that he stops Dolores from becoming fully sentient. He uses that influence to make William into Teddy. He coerces Ford into doing this for him as a form of punishment for William betraying him, and that way he could go back and visit the park and he would see his old buddy and he could basically mock him, much like he likes to mock him in the real world at their job that they have together. Also, what goes along with my theory is that in the present day time, Logan being the Man in Black, he's seen the error of his ways when he tells Lawrence that the maze wasn't meant for you, that it was actually meant for him, Teddy being him, and that the maze will unlock Teddy's consciousness back into being William. Crazy ass theory. What do you think about the evidence pointing to the fact that Logan could be the Man in Black? What do you think about this theory that Logan kills William and causes the incident? I want to know all your thoughts, so put them in the comment box down below. You can email us. It's rantpocalypse@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.